It's about that time of day again. My name is Joseph. It's Thursday evening, June 22nd. Welcome back to your nightly newsletter. We're covering crude oil, S&P, gold, euro, and DAX tonight. Crude is bearish and trying to retest yesterday's low, but the lack of follow-through from the bears tells us we need to stay patient and look for the proper confirmation up in the battle zone tomorrow morning. The S&P is range-bound, so we're focused on failures using the two-try rule to buy the low, sell the high, and avoid the middle on Friday. Gold is bearish and rotating back to the high of the channel, where we'll definitely be looking for a two-legged correction to sell back down to low on Friday. Euro's bearish with a channel overshoot, which tells us to look for selling opportunities up at the high of the channel for a retest of the low tomorrow. And FDAX is bearish with a spike in range pattern, which tells us to sell the high of that range using failures, traps, the two-try rule tomorrow. We're ready to wrap up what has been another incredible week of reliable trading opportunities on this nightly newsletter. I got a great video and a great plan for you guys to wrap up this great week, tomorrow's Friday's session. Before we jump into these charts and put the plan together, I do want to remind you the only place to watch the full-length version of this video is on our blog at sidewaysmarkets.com. If you're watching the video right now on our YouTube channel, not to worry, there's a link in the description of that YouTube video. Follow that link in the description. Come over here to the blog at Sideways Markets and join me for the full-length version. While you're here on the blog, don't forget to join the mailing list. I'll send you an email every evening when our nightly newsletter goes live. Follow me on social, lower left-hand corner, StockTwits, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, right? Pick whatever channel you like the most, and follow me on social. I'm always posting important charts, links, and updates throughout the week. Grab those charts. How great is that? All the charts from tonight's video, you can have them ready on your computer tomorrow. Grab those charts below the video tonight on the blog, and please don't forget to grab that free pass. You're going to learn more with me in 90 minutes on that free pass than you will anywhere else on the interwebs. I can guarantee you that. Grab that free pass in the upper right-hand corner, and don't forget, we got a great frequently asked questions page on our blog, and I'm always here standing by to answer all your questions 24/7. Hit me up on the live support tool on the right-hand side of the website. Hope you guys had a great week here. Ready to wrap this week up here tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, June the 23rd. Not the last Friday of the month. We actually have a full week next week. We'll go all the way into the 30th day of this month of June. I can't believe we're already talking about 4th of July weekend. That'll be coming around next weekend. We'll talk more about that next week, of course. Right? Better get the fireworks ready for that. Bottom line is tomorrow, Friday morning, anytime we have a Friday session, there are a couple things you want to keep in mind. First of all, early in, early out. Fridays are days where traders take bigger risks. They're either trying to dig themselves out of a hole or they're trading with house money. Whatever the case may be, you can expect to see bigger risk-taking. The average human being will take bigger risks at the end of the day, at the end of the week, and at the end of the month, right? So next Friday will be even more important to be on our best behavior. But again, early in, early out tomorrow, we expect lower volume, right, combined with bigger risk-taking at the end of the day on Friday. My rule of thumb is always 11 a.m. Eastern Time. After 11 o'clock on Friday mornings, you've got to have a really good reason to be trading. I always recommend to my clients, take your profit, hit the weekend, and come back and do it on Monday after 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Second thing for tomorrow, you want to remember the prior week levels, right? Prior week open, high, low, and close levels. As we go into tomorrow's session, those prior week open, high, low, close levels, specifically the high and lows, always seem to find a way to act like price magnets. So we're going to take a look at those tonight here on the newsletter. We're watching those prior week levels for tomorrow as well. So those two things, early in, early out, prior week levels on a Friday. Keep an eye on that tomorrow. As you can see tomorrow, we're going to peppering of news here. This is literally more news tomorrow than we had the entire week combined. As you can see, it's been a pretty empty fourth full week of the month of June. As you can see tomorrow morning, 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, right? So peppering tomorrow between 3 and 4 a.m. If you're trading London, be aware of that news coming out in London tomorrow. If you'll be with me tomorrow morning in the trade room, opening up at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, we're going to be looking at the CPI from our friends in the north at 8:30 a.m. 9:45, of course, is the composite flash. And what is expected expected to be the big news report tomorrow is that 10 a.m. new home sales number. We saw a pretty good existing home sales number earlier on this week, right? We're going to see if the new home sales can keep up the pace as well. So early in, early out tomorrow. Careful about those prior week levels. And don't forget, I'll be with all my advanced members in the trade room tomorrow morning executing tonight's plan. Let's get it started. We got some crude, S&P, gold, euro. How about some FDAX to round things off here tonight and send you guys into a Finally Friday trading session tomorrow? Crude is bearish and trying to retest yesterday's low. And this recent spike in range coming off the highs tells us to look for traps and failures up above the most recent resistance swing high. Now, one thing to keep in mind for tomorrow is the fact that we did get a strong move off the high, which would normally, combined with this falling resistance trend line, give us enough momentum to send this price back down to retest the low. But wait a second, look closely and you can see the sellers never officially made that new lower low. They haven't quite held the pullback yet, which tells us there is potential this may be nothing more than a deep pullback off the high for the bulls to buy the dip tomorrow. The key will be how the price action reacts up inside the battle zone. Any weakness from the buyers above that battle zone will have the sellers foaming at the mouth, right? Trying to get this price back down to retest that low. The bears will attack above that battle zone if we don't see the buyer's strength. But if the buyers roar right through that battle zone, we most likely are headed for a double test of that measured move. Boy, where do I start on this chart tonight? There's so much good stuff on this chart tonight. Now, of course, in last night's newsletter, we talked about how that double overshoot, if you recall, right, from last night's newsletter, we talked about how that double overshoot would most likely give us a measured move going back up, right, higher before we made the turn back down again. We got exactly what we bargained for today. And of course, if you watched the newsletter last night, right, you were not only ready, right, but you had all the tools you needed to be successful to trade that price going back up to the measured move. Well, here we go, right? We got the measured move accomplished. One leg, two legs higher. They got the measured move accomplished. And what do we know about a measured move? Measured moves are major market objectives. But what usually happens after we get to a measured move? We usually pull back, two-legged pullback, right? Two-legged correction, two-legged pullback, and then we typically retest that high. In fact, it's one of the most common patterns you'll see when you have the correct measured move drawn, right? Crude oil has a very specific personality to it. We look at the larger measured moves, not the smaller measured moves. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. We cover that stuff in our intermediate classes. Most important thing, though, is if you have the correct measured move on there, you'll notice when it goes up and hits that measured move, it'll pull back, two-legged pullback. It'll go right back up to retest the high. We saw a great example of that right earlier on this week on crude. So you'll notice that didn't happen, right? The buyers were unable to retest that high. That lower high creates now this overhead resistance trend line. Now, this overhead resistance trend line is a deterrent, right? It basically tells the buyers, beware, there's a level of resistance in your way before you can get back up to retest the high. So in most situations, those falling resistance trend lines, they lead into a big collapse off the high, right? So not surprising, we see a big collapse off the high because nobody wants to buy into that falling resistance trend line. Now, this is where things get interesting. Normally, when we see this much strength, normally when a market just collapses like this, they're going to go back to the moving average and then run through that low. And that's when we pretty much officially know this market now is bearish. But look what happened. We see a strong move off the high, which again is pretty much par for the course. It's what we expect. We have that falling resistance trend line. But we're also expecting those sellers to be able to run lower, right? How does a bull market turn bearish? Strong move, hold the pullback to a new lower low. As you can see, they haven't held the pullback yet. So I look at this now as a strong move down and clearly a double bottom. That creates what we call a spike and range. And this is really where it's all going to come down tomorrow, at least in my opinion, is going to be up above the high of that spike and range. Now, the buyers, they want to retest the measured move. Like I said, most of the time we get a measured move, we're going to two-legged pullback, and then we're going to retest that measured move. So that's still hanging out there to retest 27. Obviously, 32 is the high of day, right? And that's where the buyers are trying to go next. The sellers, on the other hand, they want to get all the way back down, probably not to today's low. No, they're probably going to end up all the way back down to the prior day low, just like we talked about in last night's newsletter. So this was that big turn, right, that I talked about in last night's newsletter. The turn started, but it really didn't give us any real finish, right? So as of right now, it's almost a toss-up. I'm going to give the slight edge right now to the bears just because of this collapse that we saw, right, into the closing bell at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time today, right, for the RTH session, right? So I'm going to give the bears the benefit of the doubt on this, but I want to see what happens when we go back into this battle zone. Whether the bears have control or not, everything's going to come down, right, to that battle zone. It's a little bit too bearish right here to be buying this. So here's what the bears want to see. Up, buyer weakness, failure, and back down. That's really going to be most likely what will take this price back down. Buyer weakness up above that battle zone. It may get a little bit more intense, right? We may see it go up a little bit higher and really jump up and collapse, failing to kind of finish the job back up there to that measured move. That may come into play tomorrow, right? But I have a feeling, though, if they can hold off the sellers in that battle zone, this will probably end up shooting back up, right, to retest that high. So the bottom line is I want to see it up, failure, and back down. Trap obviously would be pretty aggressive above that high here. You may not have enough information yet for this a trap high above 97. Typically when the market turns directions in a trend, it'll two-legged pull back, right? It'll trap high. It'll give you that buyer failure and then come back down. So that's what we're looking for to be a seller as the market goes higher. Now, as a seller, as the market goes lower, we don't want to sell down around the low of this range. So I don't want to be a seller down here because you can clearly see the bears. There's something there, right? Whether it's the prior high, I really don't care. What the bottom line is, this spike in range tells us sell high, back down. But if we go back down here, look for that classic fake out, breakout, pullback, right? Moving average gets below it. 1, 2, I call this the fake out, breakout, pullback as we try to go through the low of that range. Notice how I draw this. Moving average gets below the low. That will confirm we have enough strength. First test of the moving average is not trustworthy. Look for the trap high, and that's the one you want, right, to make that run back down. Now, as of right now, the easiest objective is that low at 42.26. But I'd be surprised if that does much more than just stall this thing out, right? If you got a runner left on your chart, right, get a runner left in the position, right, 42.05 will make for a very, very tasty level. And that will end up being the weekly low, right, that 42.05. So be aware of that tomorrow for the sellers. Now, what does it take right now to be a buyer? Well, first of all, I don't feel comfortable buying down here below that low. If we just roll over this market, it's dead, right? It's dead in the water, bears, and they're taking this thing lower, right? If it rolls over lower, right, the bulls are hopelessly going to be trying to buy a low that's going to keep going lower. What I want to see the price. I want to see a couple things here. First of all, I want to see up, back, up. I want these bulls to show me they can hold above that battle zone. I'm sorry, I don't trust you. I just don't trust them. Not after seeing a perfect measured move that failed to retest the high and now has collapsed off the high. I don't trust them, right? You're more than welcome to want to buy here as it goes higher, but I want to see some more proof. Now, with that proof, I'm likely going to find myself in a position where I'm now trying to buy high. Now, what do we always talk about on this newsletter when we have no choice but to buy high? We use traps, exactly right. Trap low, right? Trap low, right? Look for those traps. A great example, right? A great example whenever we go back to retest the high, right? I don't want to buy high, I want to buy low. So wait for the proof as the price goes higher. Don't buy up there, right? Then wait for that little two-legged pullback, right? Little trap low, right? And keep, right? And buy low from there. Obviously, the objective is to get back up to that high. If it can get back to the high, then we can worry about where we go from there. I believe we have some prior week levels waiting overhead. We'll take a deeper dive into that tomorrow with all of our clients in the trade room. Going to be a great day tomorrow, right, in our trade room on the crude market. I can feel it. How about some S&P? S&P is still range bound and trading the low of the range, which tells us to use the range rotation. Boy, oh boy, what a fantastic week we've had, not only in our trade room, but on our nightly newsletter. I hope you guys had a great week along with me. Plenty of great opportunities setting up for tomorrow's session. Now, don't forget, I've covered a lot of information in this nightly newsletter. You want to learn more? Make sure you join our free trial on the homepage at schooloftrade.com and learn more about the specific trading strategies that we use with all of our beginner, intermediate, and advanced members. If you're watching right now on our YouTube channel, there's a link in the description of that YouTube video. Follow that link and come join me on the website. While you're here, don't forget, we've got beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels of membership. Our beginner course is all about technology and psychology, setting up your office, your computer, your charts, working with your broker, making sure you understand the economic news. And of course, we go into a lot of detail in the beginner course on trader psychology, what we call the trader's mindset. The intermediate course, we then use those charts and we learn more about technical analysis. Everything I've talked about tonight on the newsletter is covered in great detail in the intermediate classes. Everything from moving averages and candlestick patterns to trend lines and channels, measured moves, and everything in between. Once we have all the technical analysis skills that we need from the intermediate course, then we go into the advanced course. Now we include all of our trade setups, our trade management, risk management. We incorporate our trading plan, all the cheat sheets, the checklists that we use every day in our trade room, and of course unlimited access, right, to our trade room, which is open Monday through Friday, opens up at 8 o'clock Eastern time. As you can see, we've got a great spot for you guys. Whether you're brand new or you're a grizzled veteran, I look forward to sharing my knowledge with you and helping you find those great trading opportunities every day in our trade room. Got any questions for me? Don't be shy. I'm always here to help. If you call the office, I will answer the phone. I know that most websites these days are fully automated with pre-recording messages. I will answer, and I look forward to working with you as a new client. Hit me up on live support or simply dial the toll-free number at the bottom of this website. What a great, great week. Wrapping things up tomorrow morning. If I don't see you guys tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern time in the trade room with our members, we'll do it same time, same place, not tomorrow night, but Monday evening as we go into the last full week of the month of June. Guys and gals, be well out there. Be nice to each other, will ya? And be here tomorrow. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye.